Hey guys, Dodger Dave here. It is the 14th of August, 2020. It's a Friday. We're going to talk about Lucifer in Mormonism here. We'll involve the Bible, Christianity just a little bit, all right? And the Temple endowment, and Joseph Smith taking the signs, tokens, and penalties. Signs, tokens, and penalties. STP, signs, tokens, and penalties. I had a sticker like that in our refrigerator when I was a child. Anyway, I knew y'all would be thrilled to hear that. So everybody talks about that. Joseph Smith took part of the LDS endowment out of Freemasonry. What does that have to do with the light bearer? The bearer of the light. Lucifer. That's what Lucifer means. It's a Latin word. Does anything in the Bible say that Lucifer is the same individual as Satan? No, it doesn't. Lucifer's mentioned basically as a reference to Venus regarding the king of Babylon, that he would rise and fall as the morning and evening star. Sorry for all these little things, but otherwise, if I don't use live focus, I think it just does that revert to the home screen. So Joseph Smith became a Freemason and somehow, magically or with a photographic mind, memorized everything he had to become a Master Mason in, like, what, 48 hours or something? As far as I know, he was... he gained his first degree and first, second, and third degree between March 15th and March 16th of 1842. I know in his diary he says he was raised to the sublime degree between March 15th and March 16th, and as far as I know, that was when he started too, which is incredible. Not that I have experienced it, but I understand there's an incredible amount of memorization that has to take place. Of course, that would work. That goes along with the dog and pony show that he was doing with Oliver Cowdery in front of the Whitmers, reciting stuff as if he was reading it off of the stone. Not that you can't read stuff off of a seer stone. I've never done it, but if you can do crystal ball, if you can do Ouija board, if you can channel, obviously, that poem that came to me on Halloween morning, 2017, that came to me, right? So, I'll have to read that before we finish this, right? Okay, yeah, let's do that. So, anyway, that was one of the things that really troubled me about when I was active LDS, is because I couldn't reconcile Joseph Smith becoming a Freemason and gaining the signs, tokens, and penalties from the first, second, and third degree, the entered apprentice, fellow craft, and master mason degrees, and then renaming these signs and tokens in the temple endowment. We're supposed to believe he got it from the same God that he got, the word of wisdom for, told everyone where to go on their mission, and everything else that's in the Doctrine and Covenants, save only a couple of sections that are attributed to successors, such as, Joseph F. Smith or something, right? So, why would Joseph Smith have to go join Freemasonry, a Luciferian religion, a religion that, according to Albert Pike, who was the most celebrated Freemason probably ever as far as Freemasonry is concerned, said that he called it the Masonic religion. This is in Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. And in it, and in the higher degrees, when he said brethren, I'm speaking of the brethren of the 30th through 33rd degree, if I'm quoting correctly, we endeavor to preserve the pure Luciferian doctrine. He also stated Lucifer is God. He's the God of light and goodness and all this stuff. Because he bears the light, right? And unfortunately, also Adonai was God. Adonai means my Lord in Hebrew. It's a reference to the Hebrew God, Yahweh. Okay? We've talked about, inventing the name, the Catholic monk Raymond Martini in the 13th century inventing the name that became Jehovah out of parts of the word of Elohim, meaning the gods, which was in the Jewish scriptures, as well as Adonai, which translates into my Lord in English. And so the name Jehovah is a made-up name by a Catholic monk in the Catholic Church, according to the Book of Mormon description, and later prophets like Brigham Young, is the great and abominable church of the devil. So the name of God, of Jesus in the premortal existence, was made up by an occultist, by the way, and a monk, was Raymond Martini. So I guess people who drink martinis, like my dad did, were somehow celebrating Raymond Martini. I'm sure my dad didn't know anything about that. He wasn't really into religion. Although he did tell me my great-grandfather was a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason, which explains a lot as how my grandfather got into USC, right? And his brother, because great-grandfather was a painter. But anyway, I guess you get contracts with Bank of America and stuff like that when you're rising high in the brotherhood. Amazing how many words are similar or the same in Mormonism and Freemasonry and in witchcraft. I was watching a video last night, and the girl was talking about how the veil is so thin around the Sabbat that is what is it called? Sanheim? She pronounced it much different than it's written, and I'm just not remembering it anyway. It's at Halloween, right? So the veil is thin. These are phrases we hear within Mormonism, just like setting apart. Setting apart, you set apart a seer stone using witchcraft, using magic spells, right? I've talked about that before. So anyway, Joseph Smith obtains the signs, tokens, and penalties used in the LDS endowment as a Freemason, obviously, and then 7 weeks later changes the LDS endowment to include them. But we were supposed to believe he got it from God. It's just a coincidence that he happened to learn that stuff from Freemasonry just a few weeks before, like I said, named by their highest leader during the time of Brigham Young as a religion, and they adore. He said Lucifer is the God that we adore. Okay. He talked badly about the Hebrew God, basically referencing the fact that in the Bible, according to the Jewish scriptures that the Christian church took and put in the Bible and hijacked their religion and their God and changed him into the Christian God, I guess, when they invented Jesus Christ or as an allegorical representation, actually before the Christian church well, anyway, Emperor Titus Flavius is represented by Jesus Christ allegorically, and then of course there's all sorts of astrological representation within the fable, and it was used basically as a political tool because he, as the emperor, was also the general who put down the Jewish rebellion a few years prior to, well, actually right just before, I believe, the first gospel, which I believe is the Gospel of Mark, was released, no doubt by these ghostwriters commissioned to create the allegorical figure, Jesus of Nazareth, who went to the same places in the same order as Titus Flavius in his battles, suppressing the Jewish messianic cult, the Jewish rebellion, and created this Jesus figure as an oxymoronic, as it were, pacifist Messiah. Messiah is a war hero in the messianic, cult there, right, of Judaism. So if Joseph Smith became a Freemason, you have to ask yourself, and Lucifer is God to the Freemasons, and the God of light and good, why did he make him out to be the same guy as Satan, like the Christians do, if he was in fact a Freemason? Well, perhaps that's not something he would learn in the Blue Lodge, okay? Because when I'm reading Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike said he was speaking to, or he's writing this. Maybe he, when he wrote this, he was only intending it to go to the 30th degree and up, because this book was given, I believe, freely to everyone from I believe it was the 14th degree and up, for 100 years. So anyway, Joseph Smith, as far as I know, never made it any higher than the 3rd degree. In other words, the top of the Blue Lodge, a Master Mason, Master Mahan. Maybe we discussed in the last, or we didn't really discuss it, but I read it. As far as the Hebrew goes and stuff, David Icke talks about that. So Brigham Young was a high-ranking Freemason. The Danites, his henchmen that he had murder Joseph and Hiram Smith, John Taylor, became president of the church and was a Freemason, and then so was Wilford Woodruff. But the other assassin there would have been Dr. Willard Richards, who was also an apostle. Famous names in the church. Hosea Stout, who presumably he had murdered Samuel Smith to make sure they got rid of all the Smiths that wanted to head that, that faction of the church. When in other words, he was eliminating his competition, is what the Smiths believed, and many other people, since the ballistics, in that story that you hear, from Liberty Jail, it's impossible. It didn't happen the way they tell us. Anyway, that's another video. It's not my video, but I've watched it, and yeah, it was obviously impossible with the angles and so forth. That could have taken place the way people are told by, missionaries there doing these tours, to create the belief that Joseph Smith and Hiram Smith were murdered by this rogue mob, whatever, right? Okay, so Brigham Young, John Taylor, Wilford Woodruff, Lorenzo Snow, we know those guys were Freemasons. I can't confirm, if they were high degree. I believe I've read Brigham Young was at least a 32nd degree. And it appeared that he was answering to Jesuit Jean-Pierre de Smet, as apparently Albert Pike was, and when he became like the supreme, whatever it's called, right? The Grand Poobah, if you're watching Fred Flintstone back in the day. Anyway, yeah, the Supreme Council of the, all these grandiose names. Anyway, he's a 33rd degree as well. They had like 95th degree on, all these other things, but a 33rd degree is like as high as you can go in the Scottish Rite. Apparently is 32 degrees by deciding I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to memorize the stuff and do what I got to do. But 33rd degrees by invitation. So basically you need to be pleasing the people at the top, who are the illuminated ones. That's the name, the Illuminati. So these guys didn't change it either. They left it be that he was Satan. And Albert Pike clearly, differentiates in Morals and Dogma between Satan and Lucifer. Clearly, Satan, the god of Saturn, Lucifer, the god of Venus, right? I mean, but the Christians have made this crap up, and it worked for Mormonism because they were converting people. Christian people were their main people that were, customers of exaltation, right? We're selling godhood in our and we're marketing it to Christians mostly, and poor Lamanites, yes, as they called them, the American Indians or Native Americans that were told they were cursed, their skin was cursed to be dark, because of the sins of their forefathers. So I guess they were accountable for the sins of their fathers, just like women are accountable for what Eve did in the garden, though the premise seems to be contradicting what you are taught in the Article of Faith, saying, you know, we're not responsible for Adam's transgression, only our own sins. But, sorry, if you're a woman or an American Indian, you're screwed. Right, okay. Well, just like the black people were screwed. Because what happened now? Cain murdered Abel, and then a descendant of his knocked up Egyptus, and so she was carrying, you know, somebody that was dark like Wesley Snipes. Otherwise, you couldn't have black Negroes. They'd all look like Barack Obama, right? If it was Ham and Egyptus bringing that child through the flood that didn't destroy the American Indians, the Egyptians, or anybody else that I'm aware of. But believe it because it's in the Bible. It's the Word of God. And it's been confirmed by Joseph Smith to be true. I mean, in the Joseph Smith translation of the Bible, we've got that, right? We've also got him making sure we knew they were black, because in chapter 9 of Genesis, which isn't part of the canonized first 8 verses we got in the Pearl of Great Price, but it's still the Joseph Smith translation or the inspired version of the Bible, he says that, coming full circle on that whole thing of how the Negroes were basically screwed for what one dude did, right? In the next case, so Ham sees his daddy, his drunk daddy, the drunk prophet, naked, and so his son Canaan gets cursed and all his descendants to be black because God's really freaking fair, right? Yeah. So anyway, same principle, but so Mormonism teaches this thing in the Articles of Faith. Hey, you know what? God's really fair. You're not responsible for Adam's transgression, but, you know, the daughters of Eve in the temple and in Genesis are told, you know, that basically they will be cursed with a very difficult, you know, pregnancies and labor. You know, I will multiply thy sorrow in conception. Why? Because Eve ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil offered to her by Lucifer, right? Who in Mormonism was presenting a necessary opportunity for progress. And I'm not even going to get into that one right now, I don't think, right? I mean, in other words, so God was just using the poor guy, right? It's just so crazy. Anyway, I've got a page called the Luciferian Endowment on my website, so let's go to it. It's actually pretty brief, and there's a bunch of videos, so I want to introduce those, and then maybe do a little Sabbath music about Lucifer, of course. Alrighty, where do we go? I mean, some of you have commented and said when I do attempt to sing, my Aussie stuff tends to be better than other stuff, right? Okay, working on it. It's my, you know, rock and roll fantasy, right? Here we go. Shit. Screwed that up. Okay, let's look again. Luciferian Endowment. Clicking! Alright. LDS scrap shares the Luciferian Endowment. So we're going to read this a little bit. While it loads, I mean, we could look at my... There it is. There it is. Alright. Look, but I didn't show you guys my... Come on now. Come on. Okay, let's go. There's my radical crystal on my Led Zepp poster. Okay, just thought I'd share that. Alrighty. Alright, here we go. Going back. Boom. Okay. So, we are on the Mormon Truth Videos Gospel Topics Hub. I wonder if that's why some girl commented on some comment I made on Facebook, and she says, she's like, why would she goes, kind of interesting that a Mormon would be harping about mind control. I'm like, do you mistake me for a believing, you know, Mormon? All right. Anyway, let's go. But maybe maybe I should have titled it Anti-Mormon Truth Videos Gospel Topics Hub, right? I don't know. It probably works better this way for SEO. But yeah, I really should change my personal thing here to like Dodger Dave, Anti-Mormon, Dodger Dave. Well, let's not say it. From ancient mystery schools through Templars and Masonry to Danites and Luciferian endowments. Okay? Observe the layered messaging, people. Hello, Satan! Oh. I thought you were Jim Carrey or something. All right. What do we got here? Oh, did I actually want to read this tiny stuff? Yeah, I did. I do, and I'm going to. Digging for glasses. All right, let's do this. There really isn't that much of it, so you needn't. Well, you've already by this time you know how long the video is going to be. I don't yet. In the highest degrees of Masonry are revealed the purest Luciferian doctrines. According to some of the most celebrated and decorated 33rd degree Freemasons, such as Albert Pike and Manly Palmer Hall. Was he just an honorary? Who knows? However, even the common Master Mason has been given certain signs and tokens, such as have been renamed for the LDS Temple endowment, which up until 1986 were protected by gruesome demonic oaths within the lodge, and made mention of through symbolic pantomime in the LDS endowment until 1990, or actually through 1990, I believe until about April of 91. When Gordon B. Hinckley eventually followed suit in the precedent set by the leaders of the craft in London. Though they had been downgraded incrementally in Mormonism over the years, since the times when blood atonement doctrine and the oath of vengeance were part and parcel of mainstream Mormonism in the days of the bloodthirsty Brigham Young and his cohorts. So what do you know about LDS apologetics or apologetics in general? Well, I'm going to talk about that very specifically. We're going to go to an article or discuss where I discussed an article on that was posted on BYU EDU, and it was an apologetic. Sorry, folks. Anyway, that's how that video starts. All right, so I was going to say 3 Mormons, or what are they, Saints Unscripted, put out something this week on blood atonement. How are they going to make that sound good, right? There's no end to the BS. All right, I'll probably have to do something on that one too. Honest disclosure, what about LDS Temple stuff? I'm not going to click on it. All right, here's one I did on, helping Hallie Everts be a little more thorough and honest. Actually, she might have been honest with what she had at her disposal because the temple endowments changed so much. You did at one time have to say you agreed to those satanic penalties. However, you just pantomimed them later, and then they got rid of the pantomiming of slitting your throat, ripping your tongue out, being disemboweled, and all sorts of uplifting things you would have in the house of the Lord. For God will not be mocked. Do we as Mormons secretly worship Lucifer? All right, so I did a couple parts. Now let's continue. Don't you love all those symbolisms I've got there? The layered messaging in the thumbnails? Okay, continuing. This 5-video series of a presentation made by President of LDS Apologetic Group, fairmormon.org. Should be Unfair Mormon, but by their style. Scott Gordon, made on Freemasonry in the Temple Endowment, brings to light not only the true nature of the Luciferian doctrines and rituals used to bind the saints to obedience to church leaders, but the mind control techniques Scott uses to obfuscate the truth from gullible listeners. Scott's using Jedi mind tricks. Bad boy Scott. You're gonna burn. You're gonna go to hell, Scott. All right, so that's a 5 video series that I did. It was basically 5 hours to his, 1 hour or so in Rome, where he was trying to normalize it to us that it's totally nothing to worry about. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Yeah. Anyway, that it was perfectly sensible for the prophet of the restoration of the restored gospel of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the dispensation of the fullness of times to join their Luciferian religion to get the holiest stuff to Mormons. How to slit your throat, well, actually, and have secret Masonic handshakes from the... Look at the Queen. Look at the Queen. Oh. Where did she learn those tokens? Anyway. From a Luciferian religion because, Jesus was too busy taking a vacation in the Caribbean with Jeffrey Epstein or his great-grandfather of Jeffrey Epstein, to tell Joseph Smith how to shake hands properly so he could get into heaven. Because you've got to give those signs and tokens to the angels and the gods who stand as sentinels before you get to talk with St. Peter. According to Brigham Young, he doesn't mention St. Peter, but he says to obtain your exaltation. Yeah, he actually said that. You got to know these secret handshakes to get into heaven. Believe it, folks. These guys are prophets. Anyway, and they're reaping profits, that's for sure. Okay, well, here's another time when I did a little bit, but we're going to do it besides this one. Hope I've been able to illuminate the pure doctrines the LDS Church, stolen from Freemasonry, a Luciferian religion where Joe Smith had to go to get those things that were the most sacred secrets in the temple. Only secrets because of the Masonic oaths carried. That's why Joe had to initiate so many people into Freemasonry, or have people do it for him, so he wouldn't be breaking the oath when they got their endowment. All right, let's do this. Oh yeah! Some people say my love cannot be true. Please believe me, my love, and I'll show you. I will give you those things you got and real. The sun, the moon, the stars, all bear my seal. This one. Oh yeah! Follow me now and you will not regret leaving the life you led before we met. You are the first to have this love of mine, forever with me till the end of time. Your love for me has just got to be real before you know the way I'm going to feel. I'm going to feel. I'm going to feel. Oh yeah! helping me with the blue, purple, and indigo. It's hopeless. Bad religion. Bad. Oh yeah. Carefully. Follow me now and you will not regret leading the life you led before we met. You are the first to hold this love of mine, forever with me till the end of time. Your love for me has just got to be real before you know the way I'm gonna feel. I'm going to fail. I'm going